Was he just a lucky slave, or did he play a more significant role in Egyptian history? This video dives deep into Joseph's journey, from his time in prison to his position as Pharaoh's right hand. But can you separate fact from fiction? The story of Joseph is a captivating tale of betrayal, resilience, and ultimate authority. Test your knowledge with our engaging quiz challenge and discover the truth behind Joseph's rise to power. If you want to keep your Bible knowledge sharp and have some fun testing yourself each week, then hit that subscribe button. 1. What was Pharaoh's first dream about? Your options are stars and moon, rivers and mountains, cows and grain, birds and animals. The answer is cows and grain. Pharaoh dreamed of 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows, indicating 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. Genesis 41 verses 1-4. 2. What was Pharaoh's second dream about? Your options are trees and fruits, sun and moon, sheep and wolves, heads of grain. The answer is heads of grain. Pharaoh's second dream involved 7 healthy heads of grain and 7 thin heads of grain. Genesis 41 verses 5-7. 3. Who was summoned to interpret Pharaoh's dreams? Your options are Potiphar, Joseph, Reuben, Judah. The answer is Joseph. Joseph, who was in prison, was summoned to interpret Pharaoh's dreams after the chief cupbearer recommended him. Genesis 41 verse 14. 4. What did the 7 healthy cows and 7 healthy heads of grain represent? Your options are 7 years of war, 7 years of famine, 7 years of abundance, 7 years of drought. The answer is 7 years of abundance. The 7 healthy cows and heads of grain represented 7 years of abundance. Genesis 41 verse 26. 5. What did the 7 lean cows and 7 thin heads of grain represent? Your options are 7 years of war, 7 years of drought, 7 years of abundance, 7 years of famine. The answer is 7 years of famine. The 7 lean cows and thin heads of grain represented 7 years of famine following the years of abundance. Genesis 41 verse 27. 6. What position did Pharaoh give Joseph after interpreting his dreams? Your options are chief priest, chief baker, vizier, captain of the guard. The answer is vizier. Pharaoh appointed Joseph as vizier, making him the second-in-command in Egypt to manage the storage of grain. Genesis 41 verses 39-41. 7. What new name did Pharaoh give to Joseph? Your options are Zaphanath-Paneah, Abimelech, Potiphar, Zadok. The answer is Zaphanath-Paneah. Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zaphanath-Paneah when he made him vizier. Genesis 41 verse 45. 8. Who did Joseph marry in Egypt? Your options are Asenath, Tamar, Sarah, Dinah. The answer is Asenath. Joseph married Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, Genesis 41 verse 45. 9. How old was Joseph when he entered Pharaoh's service? Your options are 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old. The answer is 30 years old. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered Pharaoh's service, Genesis 41 verse 46. 10. How many sons did Joseph have before the famine? Your options are 1, 2, 3, 4. The answer is 2. Joseph had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, before the famine began, Genesis 41 verse 50. 11. What did Joseph name his first son? Your options are Manasseh, Ephraim, Levi, Judah. The answer is Manasseh. Joseph named his first son Manasseh, meaning, God has made me forget my trouble, Genesis 41 verse 51. 12. What did Joseph name his second son? Your options are Manasseh, Ephraim, Levi, Judah. The answer is Ephraim. Joseph named his second son Ephraim, meaning, God has made me fruitful, Genesis 41 verse 52. 13. Why did Jacob send his sons to Egypt? Your options are to find new land, to seek refuge, to buy grain, to visit Joseph. The answer is to buy grain. Jacob sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain during the famine, Genesis 42 verses 1 to 2. 14. Which of Jacob's sons did not go to Egypt initially? Your options are Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Benjamin. The answer is Benjamin. Jacob did not send Benjamin to Egypt, fearing harm might come to him, Genesis 42 verse 4. 15. How did Joseph's brothers react when they first saw him in Egypt? Your options are, they recognized him, they bowed to him, they fought him, they ignored him. The answer is they bowed to him. Joseph's brothers bowed to him, not recognizing him as their brother, Genesis 42 verse 6. 16. What did Joseph accuse his brothers of being? Your options are thieves, spies, traitors, liars. The answer is spies. Joseph accused his brothers of being spies to test them, Genesis 42 verse 9. 17. Which brother did Joseph keep in Egypt while the others returned to Canaan? Your options are Reuben, Judah, Simeon, Levi. The answer is Simeon. Joseph kept Simeon in Egypt while the others returned to Canaan, Genesis 42 verse 24. 18. What did the brothers find in their sacks on their way back to Canaan? Your options are gold, silver, food, money. The answer is money. The brothers found the money they had used to pay for the grain in their sacks, Genesis 42 verses 27 to 28. 19. How did Jacob react when his sons returned from Egypt the first time? Your options are he rejoiced, he was confused, he was angry, he was afraid. The answer is he was afraid. Jacob was afraid and distressed when his sons returned with the money in their sacks and without Simeon, Genesis 42 verse 36. 20. What condition did Joseph set for his brothers to return to Egypt? Your options are bring their father, bring Benjamin, pay double, apologize. The answer is bring Benjamin. Joseph told his brothers to bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, when they returned to Egypt, Genesis 42 verse 20. 21. What did Jacob initially refuse to do after his sons returned from Egypt? Your options are send more money, pray, send Benjamin, forgive his sons. The answer is send Benjamin. Jacob initially refused to send Benjamin to Egypt, fearing for his safety, Genesis 42 verse 38. 22. Who pledged his own life to guarantee Benjamin's safety to Jacob? Your options are Reuben, Judah, Levi, Simeon. The answer is Judah. Judah pledged his life to ensure Benjamin's safety to Jacob, Genesis 43 verses 8 to 9. 23. What gift did Jacob send to the Egyptian ruler along with his sons the second time? Your options are gold and silver, livestock, fruits and nuts, spices and honey. The answer is spices and honey. Jacob sent spices, honey, balm, myrrh, nuts, and almonds as gifts, Genesis 43 verse 11. 24. How did Joseph react when he saw Benjamin with his brothers? Your options are He was angry. He was indifferent. He wept. He laughed. The answer is: he wept. Joseph wept privately when he saw Benjamin, his youngest brother. Genesis 43 verses 29 to 30. 25. What did Joseph's steward place in Benjamin's sack? Your options are: food, silver cup, gold coins, extra grain. The answer is: silver cup. Joseph's steward placed a silver cup in Benjamin's sack as part of a test. Genesis 44 verse 2. 26. What did the brothers do when the cup was found in Benjamin's sack? Your options are: they fled, they attacked, returned to the city, they denied it. The answer is: return to the city. The brothers returned to the city after the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Genesis 44 verse 13. 27. Who offered to take Benjamin's place as Joseph's servant? Your options are: Reuben, Levi, Judah, Simeon. The answer is: Judah. Judah offered to take Benjamin's place as Joseph's servant. Genesis 44 verse 33. 28. How did Joseph reveal his identity to his brothers? Your options are: through a letter, by showing his robe, by calling them by name, by weeping loudly. The answer is: by weeping loudly. Joseph revealed his identity by weeping loudly and declaring himself to his brothers. Genesis 45 verses 1 to 3. 29. What reason did Joseph give for being sold into Egypt? Your options are: his brothers' hatred, his own mistakes, God's plan, bad luck. The answer is: God's plan. Joseph explained that it was God's plan for him to be sold into Egypt to save many lives. Genesis 45 verses 7 to 8. 30. What did Joseph tell his brothers to do after revealing his identity? Your options are: go home and forget, stay in Egypt, bring their father to Egypt, seek revenge. The answer is: bring their father to Egypt. Joseph instructed his brothers to bring their father and families to Egypt. Genesis 45 verse 9. 31. What did Pharaoh offer to Joseph's family? Your options are: land in Egypt, food and clothing, gold and silver, houses. The answer is: land in Egypt. Pharaoh offered the best land in Egypt to Joseph's family. Genesis 45 verses 17 to 18. 32. How did Joseph's brothers feel when he revealed himself? Your options are: angry, joyful, astonished, indifferent. The answer is astonished. Joseph's brothers were astonished and speechless when he revealed himself. Genesis 45 verse 3. 33. What gifts did Joseph send to his father Jacob? Your options are clothes and food, money and livestock, food and 10 donkeys, gold and silver. The answer is food and 10 donkeys. Joseph sent food and 10 donkeys loaded with goods to Jacob. Genesis 45 verses 21 to 23. 34. How did Jacob react when he learned Joseph was alive? Your options are he fainted, he wept, he rejoiced, he disbelieved. The answer is he rejoiced. Jacob rejoiced and revived in spirit when he learned Joseph was alive. Genesis 45 verses 27 to 28. 35. How did Joseph instruct his brothers to explain their journey to Egypt to Pharaoh? Your options are say they were traders, say they were shepherds, say they were nobles, say they were farmers. The answer is say they were shepherds. Joseph instructed his brothers to tell Pharaoh they were shepherds. Genesis 46 verse 34. 36. What did Joseph's brothers do when they bowed before him in Egypt the second time? Your options are they asked for mercy, they apologized, they presented gifts, they sought help. The answer is they sought help. The brothers bowed and sought help from Joseph during the famine. Genesis 43 verses 26 to 28. 37. What was the consequence if the brothers didn't bring Benjamin to Egypt? Your options are imprisonment, death, exile, loss of grain. The answer is imprisonment. Joseph warned that they would not see his face again if they didn't bring Benjamin. Genesis 43 verses 3 to 5. 38. What was Joseph's emotional reaction after seeing his brother Benjamin? Your options are anger, indifference, joy, deep emotion. The answer is deep emotion. Joseph was deeply moved and had to leave to weep privately after seeing Benjamin. Genesis 43 verses 29 to 30. 39. What did Joseph give his brothers for their journey back to Canaan? Your options are money and gifts, food and provisions, livestock, gold and silver. The answer is food and provisions. Joseph gave his brothers food and provisions for their journey back to Canaan. Genesis 45 verse 21. 40. What did Joseph accuse his brothers of stealing during their second trip? Your options are silver coins, gold jewelry, his silver cup, his ring. The answer is his silver cup. Joseph accused his brothers of stealing his silver cup, which he had secretly placed in Benjamin's sack, Genesis 44 verses 2-5. 41. How did Joseph's brothers react when the silver cup was found in Benjamin's sack? Your options are: they were silent, they tore their clothes, they denied it, they fled. The answer is they tore their clothes. Joseph's brothers tore their clothes in distress when the cup was found, Genesis 44 verse 13. 42. How did Joseph finally reveal his true identity to his brothers? Your options are: he wrote a letter, he showed them his robe, he spoke in Hebrew, he called their names. The answer is he spoke in Hebrew. Joseph revealed his identity by speaking to them in Hebrew and saying he was their brother, Genesis 45 verses 3-4. 43. Why did Joseph believe he was sent to Egypt ahead of his brothers? Your options are: to avoid famine, to gain wealth, to save lives, to gain power. The answer is to save lives. Joseph believed he was sent to Egypt by God to save lives during the famine, Genesis 45 verses 5-7. 44. How did Joseph's brothers feel when he revealed his identity and forgave them? Your options are: angry, relieved, ashamed, proud. The answer is relieved. Joseph's brothers were initially fearful but then relieved and amazed when he forgave them, Genesis 45 verses 3-5. 45. What was Joseph's request to his brothers after revealing his identity? Your options are: to bring more grain, to return to Canaan, bring their families to Egypt, to apologize to Pharaoh. The answer is bring their families to Egypt. Joseph requested his brothers to bring their families to Egypt to live in Goshen, Genesis 45 verses 9-10. 46. How did Pharaoh react to the news of Joseph's brothers coming to Egypt? Your options are: with anger, with indifference, with joy, with fear. The answer is with joy. Pharaoh was pleased and welcomed Joseph's family to Egypt, offering them the best of the land, Genesis 45 verses 16-18.